without any dependency on anything, you will attain the highest wisdom. You become a jnani. That's what he tells him. So he gives example like Janaka and others. Janakadayaha loka sangraha mevapi sampatshan kartumarhasi. Janaka was a king, and he was a very great king. In fact, his example is quoted everywhere for a king who was Jivan Mukta, who had no attachments whatsoever. So when he met Ashtavakra, and Ashtavakra, he told Ashtavakra, I don't want to be a king anymore. Yesterday I met some devotee. She said, I don't want anything anymore in life. I said, it's the same case as Janaka, who did not want to be a king anymore once he learned the wisdom. But then Ashtavakra says, Janaka, till yesterday you were a king because you wanted the kingdom. Today you be a king because your kingdom wants you. For the sake of kingdom, be a king. You need to be a king, not that you want to be a king. So that is the idea of these people. So he says, for loka sangraha, for the betterment of others, welfare of others, this to do. And these are very important shloka. This perfectly applies to us. Yadyaja charati shrestha tatat deve tarojanaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. This I quote often. The way noble people conduct themselves, that is how others follow. If they don't set a good example, the world will have bad examples to follow. That's what is happening in the world. We have too many bad examples. And our generations after generations, they're getting unfortunately influenced by these bad examples. And they do all these kinds of things by influenced by such people. Now we have something called social media influencers. That is a new category of profession. These people are called influencers. Their whole job is to produce some kind of content which will influence people. Sometimes they set bad examples. So we need good examples in the world. For that sake you work, Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Well, let us work in this world. Let us not run away from work. But let us set an example for others. We set a hospital like this. It's an example. Who knows, somebody will get inspired someday. We want to talk about free medical education. That is what I was telling in the hospital. I said, I hope someday other medical colleges will get inspired. At least few seats they will keep for poorest of the poor without charging them. They may not be willing to do everything that as we do, but at least some influence. Let us see. So we have to set example. It's important. And I always say the best service you can do to the world is to be an example. So that is what Krishna is saying. He says, Name parthasti kartavyam. Here Krishna tells about himself. I have no duty in the three worlds. Don't think this battle was to be fought and my design and my wish. No, I have no duty. I have no duty to be your charioteer. I am doing for a greater good of the world that I am your charioteer. Otherwise, I am a king. Why should I sit at your feet? But he is doing that. So he says, I have no work whatsoever, no duty. Nobody can force me to work. But still I act, I work every moment. Every moment. Though I have nothing to attain, nothing to gain, and there is nothing that I don't have. I have everything with me. Yet I work. That is what Narsimurtiji was saying just now. Do I get a salary out of this work? No. Do I get a position, name, fame? Nothing I get out of it. Now why do you work? For loka sangraha, for setting an example for others. There is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. And this is what I was telling earlier also. That I always ask myself, for what sake do I work every day? Am I attached to this work? Am I attached to the place? Am I attached to the people? And I ask myself, if for whatever reason for some reason I have to drop everything, am I willing to do it? And if the answer is yes every day, only then I continue to work the next day. The day the answer becomes no and I feel no, I think I would like to continue and do this and do that, I think that is the day when I don't want to be here. I have to be here and do what I need to do as long as I'm not attached to it. That is the idea. You do it for the greater good of the world. And he says, those who follow my example, whom I have told these things, they benefit. And Krishna says very clearly here that if I stop working even for a moment, the whole world will be destroyed. Here Krishna is not referring to himself as Shri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. No. He is referring to himself as the very Paramatma, whose presence makes everything happen. If God goes out, nothing remains. Kimatra parishishyate, that's what Kathopadishad keeps reiterating. What else is there? If he's not there, then nothing is there in this world. We are all shadows, we are all illusions. The object, the original, the real is him, is that divinity. So Krishna is first time referring himself like this, and he will reveal a little more in the next chapter. See, you have to understand, Arjuna does not know who Krishna truly is still. You have to assume like that. He thinks he's his brother or his cousin or friend. First time he became his guru. And now Krishna slowly wants to Tell him who he really is. And he says, if I don't work even for a moment, the whole world will get destroyed. And Arjuna actually should think, but Krishna is not working for the whole world. How does it apply? But here Krishna is revealing his true nature slowly in Bhagavad Gita, one by one, till he takes him all the way and shows Purushottama yoga is there, and he reveals his Vishwarupa Darshana. He'll take it to the highest. But here he already started sowing the seed that Utsideyu rime loka na kuryam karma chedaham. If I don't work even for a moment, whole world will come to a standstill. Because divinity is the reason why we are all doing what we are doing. Na pranena panena matyo jivati kasyana itarena tu jivanti yasminetau upashritau. We are living because of something other than breathing. Just because we breathe, we don't live. We are living, so we are breathing. And that life is happening to us because of divinity. And here he says, Na buddhi bhedam janayed ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. 26th shloka. This is what I was referring. There are people who are doing work ignorantly. Don't go and disturb them. Let them continue. If you give them gyan, what is this anta maya, what is it going to attain out of it, everything will become dust, you will confuse them. Because they haven't understood your level of understanding of spirituality, you will confuse them. They will give up doing whatever they are doing also, thinking that karma is going to bind us, so let us not do any action. They will end up in inaction and world will come to a grinding halt. So people who are men of wisdom like Krishna here, though he knows everything, yet he is taking Arjuna step by step. Learn karma yoga first, then I will teach you karma sannyasa yoga. Don't you jump straight away there. This is how Krishna patiently is teaching. When I tell you, I know many people come here and say, I want to attain the wisdom, I want to realize the self, I want to feel oneness everywhere. I tell, yes, yes, yes. All that will happen. First you go to the kitchen and cut vegetables. Begin there. I want to feel the oneness with the whole creation. Yes, it will happen. First you teach our students next day's physics and maths. I want to be Atma Jnani Jivan Mukta. Yes, it will happen. Go to the hospital and serve the patients. Begin there. This is what Krishna is saying. Don't you disturb people with their gunas. Just because you know more than them, don't try to influence them. Let them continue. A time comes for everybody to know the truth. As they purify themselves by doing selfless action, they are ready to receive the truth. That is when it has to be told. Don't go and confuse them. Instead, what you can do, he says, Joshayed, inspire them to do what they do better by your example. So why people work? Jnanis work in the world to create example and inspire the others also to do their job well as an offering, as a yajna, so that they'll purify themselves and one day they're ready to attain the jnana. And Krishna reveals the secret, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. All people are driven by their gunas. Nobody is free of gunas. Only a jnani who is beyond 3 gunas is free. All others are driven by gunas. But they think they are doing, but their gunas are making them do. We have a very good example. A boy is there. All the time he sleeps. Anytime, anywhere. Whatever you do, you blow a conch, like Kumbhakarna, his guna. He'll sleep. Whatever you do, he'll sleep. Whatever you do, he'll eat. Bakasura. You can't change them because they're so deeply steeped into their gunas. But slowly they can be purified in the company of good people, get inspired by seeing their example and overcome their guna, transcend it one day and become a Jivan Mukta. That is the process. But Krishna says everybody is driven by guna. Why a person wants to do MBBS and cut open hearts? Somebody else, a poetic heart, will faint at the sight of blood. But a doctor is excited to do operations because their gunas drive them to do so. So that is what Krishna reveals. Don't think it is you who is doing, your gunas are pushing you to do that. Only the one who has transcended that guna is free and he is doing things as per his happiness and not driven by any duty, not driven by any guna. Such a person is always free. And he goes on to tell, Guna guneshu vartanta iti matva nasajjate. Remember this, that gunas are pushing you to do the activity according to their likes and dislikes and be detached from the activity. So a doctor who is excited to do a surgery is his guna of being a doctor that he is doing that. He should remain a detached, differentiate. Atma is not attached to these actions and reactions. That way you differentiate, he says. And then he says that don't disturb those who are already steeped in gunas. They are yet to attain that knowledge. Don't be too early like a small child who knows sun rises in the east and sets in the west. You go and tell him that sun does not rise and set. It's earth which is going on revolving. That fellow will be confused. And he will rather think you are a fool who does not know your subject. So don't go and talk to those who are not ready. Na putraya datavyam, na shantaya. That's Shvetashvatara Upanishad said, don't give this knowledge to just anybody who are not ready for it. So let them work their way through karma yoga. And he continues, says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyat adhyatma chetasa, remembering your divinity, work. And that way, nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvara, get rid of this fear of I don't want to do, or this attachment. Become a person without expectation, without attachments, and fight the war. Krishna is again coming back to the same original point. You have to fight the war. You can't run away. And he says, Shraddhavanto anasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhi. Those who listen to my teachings and don't find faults with it. Many people find faults with it. Anusuyanto, they should be without finding faults with my teachings. Who follow it, they are redeemed. Shankaracharya was there, he was walking. You know what happened? His disciples who were following, they were watching Shankaracharya. He became very thirsty and he went to a toddy shop. Toddy, village liquor. And he asked, I'm very thirsty, give me something to drink. That fellow gave him a pot of toddy. And he drank it in one breath. And all the disciples thought, look at him, full pot he drank. He calls himself monk and all that. And look at him, he's enjoying a country liquor. Anyway, after some time, again Shankaracharya is thirsty. And he looks around and there is a kind of iron smith who melts iron and makes pots and things like that, articles. He tells him, I'm very thirsty, give me something. He gives him a hot molten iron. And Shankaracharya drinks that also and walks away. And then disciples thinks that, okay, so I should not compare myself with him. Because I will think like that, see how he lives like this and he asks us to live like this. But I am unattached. If I give you the same things, you will get attached in one day. And then you will suffer. So don't you compare directly like that without knowing the truth behind. So he says, become like that, follow my teaching, don't find faults with my teaching, and you will be redeemed. And goes on to say, the indriyas are like that, they are always having raga and dvesha, attachment or aversion to everything. If you like something, you want to eat it. If you don't like something, you want to reject it. This rejection and acceptance is a concept of indriyas only, it is not of Atman. For Atman, everything is acceptable. So he tells indriyas are like this, don't be influenced by them. Go beyond. Your indriyas are telling, your moha is telling you, do this, don't do that, but don't be like that. Tayor na vasham agachetau. Don't get influenced because hyasya paripantino, they are like highway robbers. They will steal away things, they'll distract you. You look this way and they'll steal away whatever you have. So be very careful, don't be controlled by your indriyas and do your duty. Shreyan sadharmo viguna paradharmat sanushtitat. Swadharme nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayava. Whatever duty has been given to you, your dharma has been given to you, do that dharma. That's why we had divisions in the society. Everybody was supposed to do certain kinds of roles. All cannot do each other's role. Mouth can do hand's job, hand cannot do feet's job, feet cannot do stomach's job. It does not mean they are superior or inferior to each other. Likewise, everybody had a duty according to their guna dharmas. And they were told, you this you do, this will be best for you. And that's how people were able to perform duties and society was in harmony. So Krishna says, do your duty as a Kshatriya. Don't try to become a monk at this point in time. Don't try to be sannyasi at this point in time. That is not going to bring you good. So Shreyan sadharmaya nidanam shreya. Better to die doing your duty than to copy somebody else which you are not. Many people try to copy others but they are not. And they are neither get this nor get that. They are all confused. And he says, and final part of the Bhagavad Gita, this chapter, when he tells you control your indriyas and don't be influenced by them, he asks, now I understood so many things. We should do our duty. Then why people commit sins despite knowing all these truths? It's very important for youngsters. Yatha kena prayuktoyam pavam charit purushaha. Why do people commit sins despite knowing all these truths? Anichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha. As if they've been forced to do this, even though they don't want to do it. Many times children write, I don't want to do it, Swami, but I got angry again. I didn't want to do this, but I did it again. Why do I do this when I know I shouldn't be doing it? As if I've been forced to do it. Gunas are there, no? They push you. So Krishna says, Kama esha, Krodha esha, Rajoguna samudbhavaha. This Rajoguna in us pushes to develop desires and become angry when desires are not fulfilled. This Rajoguna pushes us. Tamoguna people have no desire, lying around happily. Jada. But Rajoguna people have tremendous desires. So in action, the risk of developing desires lie. So be very careful. If you have a lot of Rajas, control it with Sattva, otherwise you'll end up in Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhaya Ena Iha Vairinam. These are the biggest enemies, Kama and Krodha, which are born out of Rajoguna. So be careful, he tells him, And he says, dhume navriyate vahini, like the smoke covers the fire, like the dust covers the mirror, like the womb covers the fetus, likewise these kama krodha cover the jnanam in you. It does not allow you, though it is there, it does not allow you to see what? Desires and the anger that arises out of it. So get rid of desires is what he's saying. Selflessly work for the welfare. And he says, these, what kind of these are? Nitya Vairina, they are your constant perennial enemies. Not that they are enemy on Sunday and Monday they'll become your friends. Your desires and angers are your enemy forever. So get rid of them, he says. Kama Rupena Kaunteya Dushpurena Nalena Cha. Very important. He says this is like a insatiable fire. Some people say, I have developed this desire. If I fulfill this desire will disappear. Never it happens. If you put more ghee in fire, fire is not going to be satisfied. It will ask for more. See, some gurus have this philosophy. Let them do what they want to do, because once they'll get fed up with it, that what you call the concept of, we have that, marginal utility concept. You eat too many sweets, you don't feel like eating sweet. Maybe not on that day. Next day you'll again feel like eating. So, dushpurena analena cha, it is like a fire which cannot be satisfied. So, don't try to fulfill desire to overcome desire. The only way to get away from desire is to get rid of it and develop selflessness, is what he's saying. And he says, where do these desires breed? They breed in our senses, mind and buddhi. They are a breeding ground, like our water, stagnated water is breeding ground for mosquitoes. Desires breed in our indriyas, our mind and a bad buddhi. They are the places where it grows. They create delusions in oneself and cover the jnana. Therefore, first and foremost, what should Krishna tells him, Tasmat tvam indriyanya adav niyamya bhartarshaba. Before you start on spiritual path, control your senses. That is what he's saying. Begin with that. So how do I help you doing that? I keep you so busy that there is no time to run behind senses. All the time you're busy, from 4 o'clock that you get up till 10 in the night, you're continuously working. People think, why such a hectic schedule? This is the reason. So that you can control yourself a little bit. And then he says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyabhya paramanaha manasistu parabuddhi yo buddhe paratastu saha. Beyond indriyas is the mind, beyond mind is the buddhi, beyond buddhi is the atman, that divinity. So he advises him, use that divinity to steady yourself. Invoke that divinity within you, invoke that divine power within you. Don't reject yourself, or don't, think of yourself as just body and mind, weak-minded. I am useless, I am weak-minded. This negativity should not be there. Remind yourself, whom aham eva aham avyayaha, aham brahma sarvam brahma. These are the truths you have to remind yourself every day about. That will give you the strength to overcome silly, petty desires, to control your senses and become completely established in that. So that is the final conclusion. He says, using this, buddheya param buddhva samstabhyatmanatmana, using this ultimate knowledge, control your things, and then jahi shatru mahabaho kam rupam durasada. All these desire, this enemy of desire can be destroyed using the higher truth of self. So this is the end of this Karma Yoga chapter. Idea is that we have to perform action. We cannot escape action. Actions should be performed for the sake of others, like Janaka and others. Like God performs actions though he has no duty, but he does for the sake of others as a yajna, without any desire whatsoever. And such a person who is free from desires born out of any action, such a person is Jivan Mukta. He can happily roam around the world, nothing happens. As they said, Ashtavakra tells about that. Bhrantasyeva dashastas tadrishayeva janate. He looks like a deluded person, but he is the wise one. Why? Because he has nothing, no desire, nirhankara, nirashe. Such a person alone enjoys the world. For all others, world is enjoying them. They think they are enjoying the world, but they are wrong. So if you want to work in the world, which you have no choice about, work. Whatever has been given to you, do it well, but do it as an offering to God, as a first step of Karma Yoga. Don't try to escape action. Do it well, do it selflessly as an offering. That will help you to control your mind and senses. Invoke the divine power which is within you. Infinite is your potential. Remind yourself all the time and work accordingly. This is the ultimate essence of Karma Yoga. But this is the first step in the karma. The next step, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, takes you further deeper. It asks you the question, who is the doer in the first place? That is the question being asked next. You think you are doing, and then you are offering, and then you are getting rid of the desire of the results. Wait. Who is doing in the first place? Are you the one who is doing? That is the question coming in the next chapter. So we will learn that next chapter. Anyway, today it's a lot of time. But as a Shubhasya Shigram, whatever good is there, it should be done early. And even at the cost of a late dinner and skipping the Paravidya classes. This is Paravidya. So this is what you should remember. And it's a very important concept, Karma Yoga. Bhagavad Gita begins with this concept and then takes you to the higher concepts, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and other things. Begin here, begin right, everything will fall into place. Especially people working in organizations like ours should know Karma Yoga, how to work.